Welcome back to Everlasting Summer, where we might get naughty with Lena. Oh my god! but at that exact moment, I was possessed by only one thought. Oh, what the hell? Well, if you don't mind. I closed my eyes. She said nothing. Just smiled and moved even closer. How the fuck do you know she smiled? Your eyes are closed. Our lips locked in a long kiss. I forgot everything at that moment. I forgot about this weird camp. Forgot about the local pioneers that were in fact gone. I forgot about our wacky camp leader. I forgot about my past life and my future, if it would ever come. Right now, the only one who mattered was Lena. Her soft lips, her warmth that poured deep into my soul, burning me from the inside. I gently moved her aside. Smiley face. Sorry, I just like seeing Lena smile. Hold on. Don't you think this is way too fast? You just kissed! Oh no, now I have girl cooties! Like... Why? She smiled and looked at me in such a way that I immediately felt ready to drown in her eyes. You're sure, aren't you? Her voice has changed. Woohoo! I am, I whispered quietly. At that exact moment, I truly loved Lena. Finally! I wanted to hold her tighter and never let go. And she felt the same, of course. Time flashed by way too fast, and we became as one. When I woke up, it was already dark outside. I got out of bed, put on my trousers, and had a stroll around the room. What was that? Just an animal instinct, or maybe it was something more? Oh my god, you just said you liked... I fucking give up. No, it's all wrong. Completely wrong. I'm stuck in this camp, I lost my chance to get out of here, and most of all, I'm with a girl who probably has a split personality and maniac depressive disorder. Where are you getting these ideas from? I looked at the sleeping Lena. Anyhow, she's marvelous. Everything that happened between us literally only a couple of hours ago flashed before my eyes. I felt shivers up my spine. I give up on trying to understand this. I give up. Nah, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but if I could have returned back in time, I would have done exactly the same thing. Why would you turn that down? I smiled widely and sat down next to her on the bed. Oh my god, I can't speak this morning. I had absolutely no desire to wake Lena up. It was an unspeakable pleasure, just watching how she sleeps. Then murdering her while she's... no. People say that the sleep reveals the true face of a person. I heard a legend that some ancient civilization had a custom. Before getting married, a woman watches her fiancé sleeping for 3 nights. And then she decided whether to marry him or not. Bearing that in mind, I could confidently say that Lena's face showed nothing but goodness, kindness, and childlike naivety. I said naivety. Naivety. I don't know how to pronounce that. That one's a weird one. Naive is easy, but naivety. I don't know. Whatever. Could this really be the girl that knocked Elisa out yesterday? Well, whatever it may be, everything's already happened. And I've already seen Lena like that. The humility for the first few days, the hysterics back there on the island, the rage at the square yesterday, her passion today. How can one single human cope with so many opposing personality traits? She's a teenager! Come on. Semyon, were you ever a kid? No. Might be the case that she really has a double, triple, even quadruple split personality. Or maybe you're a fucking maniac. I don't know how much time I spent just watching Lena sleeping. It might have been a couple minutes, or might have been a couple of hours. Finally, she awakened. Good morning. Lena smiled tenderly. Come here. She rose and hugged me. I didn't resist and popped down on the bed. You're so wonderful, she whispered in my ear, kissing my neck. You too. But my voice hesitated. Want to do it again? Yeah. She asked playfully. That's the wrong answer, my friend. No. Hold on. I moved her away gently. You know, all this is anything but simple. When we just met, you seemed to be the Oh my god. When we just met, you seemed to be one person. Then you seemed to be another one. And today, now I can't understand at all who you really are. And yet again, what you did to Elisa. Her again. Lena covered up with a blanket and turned away. You're an idiot, Semyon. Didn't you like what we did? Want to do it with her too now? Want to do it with her too? Now I won't hold you back. Come on, compare us. I'll leave you her address. You can tell me who is better. Or we can have a threesome. Yeah, I'm not saying no. She sounded like she wasn't talking about me or her. Like she was talking about complete strangers. Oh, there you go again. Dude, you've known her for a week. Stop acting like you were married for 50 years. I sighed. So today you should have realized that the last person I would think about now would be Elisa. Okay, you're right. She turned to me, smiled, and hugged me tightly. Hold on. I still have to understand. Why? I can't just simply... Yes, you can! And yes, I do care. That's why I really need to know who you are. I'm just me, she answered in the same languid voice. Languid? Never heard that one before. My brakes started to break from all these emotions. I have to calm down somehow. I jumped to my feet and moved across to sit on the opposite bed. Fine, Lena said disappointedly and started to get dressed. I'm not asking for much. I'm just looking for some touch. No? Just a few answers. Oh, I'm gonna stop that. Stop now. If anyone's even here after these 8 minutes or so. Just a few answers to a few questions. Later, it's time to depart. She interrupted me impassively. What? Where are we going? What do you mean where? Back to the town, of course. But you told me... Well, I might have withheld something. In fact, I persuaded Olga that we still had some extremely urgent matters here, and we'll come later. Well, I already came earlier, so... Didn't I say I was going to stop that? How would we get to the town? How would we get to town then? By bus, of course. There are no buses here. I grinned. What do you mean, no buses? Of course they are. Route 410. I didn't know whether I should believe it or not. The situation seemed to be going out of control, but I wouldn't argue. Okay. I managed cautiously. Come on, get packed. Meet me at the square in 10 minutes. Okay. But can't we, you know? I gave up asking and left the cabin. I think Semyon's crazy. No, I don't. I know Semyon's crazy. Frankly speaking, I had almost nothing to pack. I just tossed my winter clothing into a bag and... Oh. I thought I could skip that dialogue. Went into the bag and headed to the square. Okay. Nina was already waiting for me there, with a gym bag on her shoulder. You don't seem to carry a lot of baggage. It's just enough. She smiled. Let me carry it. Please do. Although her bag seemed almost weightless, a bit of chivalry never hurt anyone. We were walking, and Lena was constantly telling jokes, anecdotes, funny stories, and never stopped laughing. Now I had really lost touch with the person next to me. She the one I met a week ago, or the one I saw for the first time this morning? You fucked the girl. Of course she's gonna be acting slightly different. When we reached the bus stop, I took out my mobile phone and checked the time. in front of Lena. Surprisingly, there was still some power left. I'm telling you, he has a Nokia. There's no way any other phone is lasting 7 weeks with no, like on idle standby, and still having power after. Did I say 7 weeks? 7 days. Sorry. It was almost 11 p.m. Isn't it a bit late for buses? Not here. No. What's that? Asked Lena curiously. Oh, just a toy. Take it. It's a gift. The fuck? Thank you. She smiled and took the phone. What can you play on it? You'll work it out yourself later. It's not that hard. I very clearly heard thunder. Anyway, the mobile phone is totally useless here. We waited for about half an hour, and Lena just kept talking and smiling. Well, I must admit that I found her stories amusing, and I felt comfortable with her. But what about the bus? So what about... I didn't finish the sentence, as I saw the glimmer of headlights in the distance. Ah, here it is. Lena exclaimed enthusiastically. The bus was slowly carrying us away from the Sovionic pioneer camp. I just wanted to believe that we'd never ever go back. The darkness beyond the window prevented us from seeing the road, the woods, or the fields. Actually, it might be the case that they're all long gone and we're flying through a void towards the unknown. Whoa. Hit the wrong button. There we go. Anyway, I couldn't care less for the surroundings. I just kept listening to Lena. Perhaps she had said more words today than she had throughout her past life. You know, I interrupted her at last. I still don't understand. What exactly? She smiled. How come you could be so hesitant, so humble at first, unable to string 2 words together, and then... like this? Really? Is it that important? Her voice has definitely changed, but I don't care. Yes, it is. Yes, for me it is. Well, she took a deep breath before answering. You see, I've always been the way you saw me the first time we met. I was like that in public. I wasn't able to live as I wanted to since childhood, so I put on a mask. She went silent. Although, let's not go too deep into that. Lena laughed and cuddled my arm, pressing her body tightly against mine. Okay, I get it. It was probably very hard for her to discuss it indeed. Anyway, I got a lot even from such a short explanation. You understood that? Except me in less sense than the last week. But still. Can I be sure you won't turn into that one again? That one. Really? You won't retreat into your shell? Won't surrender to your anger and rage? That depends on you. Lena smiled slyly. It's just now that I realized that I'm playing a high-stakes game. On the one hand, I've spent a week in this obscure world just trying to find some answers. I have nothing to my name and nowhere to return to. Damn it. On the other hand, there's this girl who obviously matters so much to me. I almost didn't need to think about whether I had any feelings for Lena. I just wanted to be by her side, look at her, listen to her voice. I liked her the way she was. I assured myself that this is it. The real Lena is in front of me. And now, when these thoughts came back, about my past life, my mysterious appearance in an 80s pioneer camp, it's just not the time for such thoughts. I feel good right now being close to her. I don't want to return anywhere. I don't want any answers. I don't want to think about what's going to happen tomorrow. If it's up to Mimi. If it's up to me, then I just want to believe that you'll always be the way you are now. For this is the way I love you. Aww. And I'll keep being this way, as long as we're together. She hugged me even tighter. Aww. I don't know how long we'd been on the road, but Lena's chatter gradually started to quiet down. She put her head on my shoulder, but was still telling me a story about her cat getting into the sleeping medicine, getting dizzy, and wreaking havoc. I slowly started to doze off myself. But still, why did you hit Elisa? She looked at me closely with a serious expression on her face. I always hated that bitch. Lena laughed loudly and nuzzled into my shoulder. Can you really blame her? I desperately tried not to fall asleep. It's unknown what's awaiting there after the bus's next turn. It might be a new life waiting for me, or it might be the end of this fairy tale, and I'll be buried in the coffin of the peeling walls and ceiling of my old apartment. But it was a losing battle. Morpheus had summoned legions of monsters under the command of fatigue, exhaustion, desolation, and uncertainty. I had no chance to win the battle against these 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and I drifted off to sleep. Day end. If I can, I think I might just keep recording till the end then, because wait, what? Wake up! Consciousness slowly returned to me. It's like I'm falling from a cliff so high that clouds are drifting nearby. The ground is coming closer, but I'm not afraid that I'll die. My fall slows down and my body is smoothly immersed into the warm ether. I opened my eyes. You'll sleep through your whole life like that. Lena looked at me seriously. What? We're there already? Where's there? I looked around. A bench, a square, Genda. But how? I was on the bus, going to the district center. Why are you looking at me as if you've seen a ghost? But why am I still here? For a second, I felt terrible fear. Will I never get out of this place? We were on the bus together. On the bus? Yesterday. Yesterday? Yes, yesterday. Don't you remember? Lena started thinking. Yesterday. I don't remember anything like that. Maybe you just had a bad dream. Her voice is very male. I can't help that. I'm male. Considering that all of that has happened already seems like a hallucination, this must be a dream within a dream then. Well, let's take it slowly. I tried to think logically. The session ended yesterday. All pioneers left, but we stayed. And then we took a bus and headed to the district square. Someone left at a certain moment. Lena surely looked perplexed. Are you kidding me? I'm not kidding anyone. Today's the last day. Wait. So how much time have I spent here? Lena started to count off on her fingers. Looks like 7 days. Not 8? It's 7. Definitely 7. I gave an exhausted sigh and covered my face with my hands. Well, that's another riddle in the long list of the camp's mysteries. This is very loud music. Well, okay. Though I have a feeling that we won't manage to leave today either. Why? Sixth sense. XTH, that is a horrible combination of letters. Sixth. You're acting a bit strange today. I suppose. I have my reasons. Want to tell me? I gazed at her attentively. I do. Sure, why not? When I had a real chance to break free from this camp, everything failed. So what do I have to lose now? Now, where do I start? Start from the beginning. Yes, of course. Well, I was born, I studied, married. Well, okay, I haven't gotten married yet. You still have time. Yes, but... Well, in a few words, like, I'm not from this world. From the look she gave me, it was clear she didn't understand me at all. I came here accidentally, even I don't know how. So what does your world look like? Lena asked seriously. It's virtually the same, but 20 years ahead of your world. How old is this game? thought of that. It seems fairly new. Like, I mean, it still gets its updates and all that, so. Do you already have spaceflight? Well, if it comes to that, you have it as well. Yeah, wasn't the man on the moon, like, in the 70s, 80s? However, we haven't made any great achievements in that field yet. No, the Mars rovers aren't any great achievements at all. Sounds interesting. I was unable to tell if Lena was taking me seriously, or was just pretending to do so. I used to live in a completely different place as well, far away to the north, judging from the landscape, in a big city. I've never been to big cities. Maybe that's for the best. Will you show me your house? It seemed like she was taking this conversation as seriously as I was. Well, I'm not even sure it exists in this world. Oh, come on. Lena pouted. Oh, come on. Well, sure I will. So how did you get here? One evening I took a bus, Route 410, and woke up here. I don't know anything more than that. The 410 route. That's the one that stops just outside the camp. Yes, but my 410 travels in another place and time. Are you planning to return? Lena said, and I noticed a note of unhappiness in her voice. I have no idea how to. And if you knew? You're asking tough questions. What's wrong? Nothing, but you see, I only just recently started to adjust to being here. The first hours in this camp were such a shock for me that I don't know. It's okay. You still have time to think about it. Time to think. Seems that even if Lena believed me, she considers this whole situation just a typical inconvenience and nothing more. Anyway, it's not up to me. Possibly even if I do want to stay. You see, the one who brought me here can take me back as well. I believe that any event in a person's life has a reason. Therefore, you are here for some reason. Maybe. And if you haven't returned, you must be needed here. Well, I can't rule out that interpretation. Hey, time to pack your stuff. The camp leader's voice sounded from afar. Hear that? I don't know much to pack. But I do. So meet me near the bus. Would you like me to help? Thanks, but there's no need. And suddenly her clothes changed. Lena smiled and ran off towards the cabin. I'm a little questioning why these are different. These two arrows are different now, because they're like the ending arrows, and they're not. Yeah. Lena smiled and ran off towards her cabin. I remained sitting on the bench, trying to cope with the shock. My thoughts were still in chaos, one theory replacing another. On one hand, me being unable to get out of this camp isn't that all that odd compared to me finding myself here in the first place, but what now? What am I supposed to do? Is there any chance that I can leave this camp if I try again? Anyway, what's the point in being nervous? By now, I know perfectly well that absolutely nothing is up to me. Maybe I just have to sit back and enjoy the ride. I couldn't help smiling. Especially now, when I have an additional reason not to be in any hurry to leave. And that reason is Lena. Maybe she's right, and I'm here for some reason. In the end, even if I can narrow down the possible explanations for my situation to a reasonable minimum, there would still be 1,001. And if I keep exhausting myself analyzing them, I'll just go mad. Maybe it's time I make a choice. Maybe this world is not so bad after all. Especially since for the first time in a long time, I have nothing to live for. Or nothing. I have something to live for. Two totally different things. It's still a vague something, but still I have it. It exists. Why is it vague after your dream thing with Lena? Whatever. And now I have the power not to simply hold it, but to develop it into something bigger. With such thoughts, I stood up and started walking to Olga's cabin in order to pack my humble belongings and leave the Sovionic pioneer camp forever. One may think it's strange, and that's exactly how it seemed to me. But eventually we reached the district center. I eventually got tired on the bus and fell asleep. When I woke up, I ran up and down the aisles of the bus, gasping for air, but soon I realized that this long week is over. At last I managed to break free from the camp. All the time I spent there seemed like so much longer than 7 days, and now everything is over. Soon after that, events moved with frightening speed. No time left for self-analysis or seeking answers. Moreover, from time to time, I completely forgot about the camp. Like anyone who found themselves in a completely strange environment, I was completely lost. I had no papers, not even a simple birth certificate, and no skills to earn a living. Professions such as computer specialist or call center operator were not in demand. They aren't? In the... like... what? Lena returned to her normal life. She had to graduate from school and get ready to enter university. The pioneer camp was in the south of the USSR, just as I'd assumed. Lena lived in a town with a population of about 100,000. That's a pretty large town. That's a city. Not a big city, but whatever. It was easy to get there by bus from the district center. There's nothing special about the town. One big factory, rows of 5-story houses. So I'm still in this world, then. Wooden huts on the outskirts, a grocery store that closed at 7 p.m., and a supermarket. A true Eden for a shopaholic, with choices including rubber winter shoes, women's sheepskin coats, and men's musquash hats. Before, I would already be trying to run away from a place like this, but now it was my home. Cases of starvation were rare in the 20th century Europe. I managed to find a job. I was employed as a turner's assistant in a factory, and was also given a room in a hostel. Over time, this initially difficult and strange job started to bring a certain satisfaction. Partially, of course, that came from having the ability to buy food. Time passed, and I climbed up a career ladder, becoming the head of the whole shift. My colleagues were amazed at my talent and persistence, and so was I. Lena graduated from school, and I spent several nights with a calculator, designing diagrams of expenses and income. And at last I made up my mind to propose to Lena. I don't remember now if it took a lot of time for her to think, if she suggested we sign a marriage contract, prenup, or if she protested because of the lack of a dowry. What is a dowry? Okay, term I don't know. That's what it is. But in a short time, both of us moved into a communal apartment near the factory that cost 2/3 of my salary. 2/3 of your salary? Holy shit! That's a lot of money. I don't know. Thanks to free Soviet education for everyone, or maybe thanks to my wife's persistence, eventually I became a part-time student at the local Polytechnic University. At first I protested, saying that a fair proletarian had no need to act like the lousy intellectuals. But then I came to conclusions that a diploma would make my life easier. It wasn't difficult to study, thanks to my knowledge from my last attempt at receiving a higher education. Time passed and the country started to change. Of course, I knew it would happen, but still, the changes came out of the blue. You could compare it to being caught in an avalanche in the mountains. You can prepare all you like, but it will still bury you anyways. The factory was privatized and then closed down. Kopeka? Kopeka, I'm saying it like that. Is a Russian car. Oh, very cheap and old. Moonlighting as a private driver. Moonlighting? Oh, working at night, right? As a private driver in the Kopeka rattletrap I inherited from my father-in-law was not really a profitable business. I was even ready to apply for a camp leader position in Sovionic. When Lena's distant when Lena's distant relative died and left us a one-room apartment somewhere in central Russia. I cannot pronounce that word. Is a low-costing, concrete-paneled, 3 to 5-storied building developed in USSR during the reign of Nikita. Nope, I can't pronounce that word. That name. After our family council, we decided to move. We greeted the early 90s in a cramped kitchen watching Swan Lake. Thanks to random side jobs, I saved up some money, and we decided to move to a bigger city. And of course, I chose my birthplace. By the way, I'm not ending this now. I'm going to keep going till the end because I feel we're pretty damn close to the end anyways. We decided to sell the flat and use the money to invest in business. For some time we lived in luxury, buying mink fur coats and expensive foreign cars, dining in restaurants and taking trips to other countries. Like many others during that time, I had the luck to somehow make it big, starting from the bottom. My business was construction material retail. It was a profitable market at the time because people made excessive money that they wanted to invest in luxurious homes. Maybe such life could have gone on, but the 90s were called rakish for a reason. I don't know. After encountering rackets and corruption, I was left with an empty refrigerator, an empty wallet, and the bitter taste of blood in my mouth. That was the time I tried to recall my man from the future status. Betting places that were impossible in the Soviet era popped up all over, and I rushed to gamble on everything I knew. However, I faced new disappointments, as matches were won by completely different teams. Even the 1994 World Cup champion wasn't Brazil. When I was just watching football on TV, everything went as it should, but whenever I spent the last of my money to make a bet, even underdogs began phenomenally beating favorites. My God. As well as that, I tried to pursue my career as a political advisor. However, you don't get accepted into a high position like that without special connections or anything that would make people interested. I don't know how long I would have gone through this torment if not for an event which changed everything. Me and Lena had a child. In a hurry, I started to search for any possible way to earn enough money to provide for my family. I remember some of my father's old friends, and through them, by pretending to be a distant relative of myself, I gained a place as a junior data analyst in a bank. At the same time, I made a new attempt to obtain my degree, or to be precise, to finish it. Time passed slowly. The money was just enough to fill our stomachs. I almost lived at work for days, trying to find some time for my exams. Lena stayed at home with the baby. That was when I started writing. I remember it as if it was yesterday. It was just after midnight, and I was sitting in the kitchen in front of my old, worn-out i386, wildly killing monsters in Doom 2. I wanted to sleep badly, but computer games, at least, slightly distracted me from the infinity of dull days. When I completed another level, I was suddenly immersed in thoughts about everything I had gone through during the last few years. It was all too much for one person. That's when I decided to write down everything that had happened to me. I launched the word processor and wrote down about 200 words, with the clear intent of continuing it tomorrow. However, I didn't remember it tomorrow, nor even a week later. About a month later, Lena, who was typing something on the computer, reminded me of my unfinished book. I reread it and deleted it, terrified. At that moment, I started to doubt if I could ever do it. After all, it was an entire epic novel, and I wasn't even able to string 2 sentences together. In addition, it's not easy to write about yourself. Creative work put on the back burner for now. I celebrated the arrival of the year 2000 as a certified specialist with department head duties. While moving to another apartment, I found my old i386 among the trash that was to be thrown away, and I remembered my intention of writing a book about my life. I laughed. How stupid. However, after some time I opened my laptop and made a sort of draft of a short story about a young man with a definite occupation or aspirations who finds himself on a different planet. The style, orthography, and punctuation, as well as the idea itself, were matched well to such a silly plot. I showed the story to my wife. She laughed, but said that it was well written, and advised me to continue. About a year later, the drawer The drawer? The drawer designated... No, that's drawer. What? Whatever. The drawer designated to holding my literary work was full. I found that very odd because I was spending entire days at work, sometimes even during holidays, and I tried to spend all my available free time with my family. However, that's what happened. Around that time, I decided to publish my short stories. As with any other beginner's work, most of mine were rejected, but a couple of them were accepted, including my first work. I was over the moon. Of course, I was paid nothing, but my works will be read, meaning that someone will find them interesting. Time passed. We had a second baby now. During my spare time, I slowly wrote a novel. Not about my life, or the pioneer camp. I decided not to touch upon those themes ever again. Everything that happened years ago seemed to be the will of God, whose charity should not be tempted. Who can tell what would have happened if I hadn't woken up Who could tell what would have happened if I hadn't woken up in a bus near the Sovionic camp gates? A year later, the novel was completed. After I'd annoyed almost all known publishers, I managed to reach an agreement with a small company. The editor, an elderly man wearing a ragged tweed jacket and thick spectacles, which almost rubbed against his magnificent grey mustache, told me, "Your level is average, young man. Average, yes. But the idea itself is interesting. Interesting, yes. Indeed, see? Well, why is he, from Boston? Well, you need more practice, and, more reading, yes." I remembered these words for the rest of my life. I dispensed the copies that were sent to me as part of my royalty agreement among my friends and colleagues. Lena, who read my novel only after it was published, told me that she really liked it. Mostly out of a desire not to upset me, I guess. Time passed. The calendar days were unstoppably approaching that day when I was pulled out of my usual world and thrown into this life. Starting from the mysterious pioneer camp and now ending up here. Now I'm a successful writer, at least according to the numbers of copies my books have sold. I have a wonderful wife and 2 children. My life has turned 180 degrees. Midnight tonight is the start of something new. Tomorrow is the day that I was waiting for so many years. What are you thinking about? Wow. Dustin's not going to like this. Her hair's changed. I opened my eyes and saw Lena. She put a cup of tea on the table near an armchair. Firewood was gently crackling in the fireplace, and a snowstorm was roaring outside. I wrapped myself up in a plaid blanket and looked at Lena. You know what day it is? No, what day? Do you remember what I told you back there in the camp? No. No wonder. During all these years, I'd never brought up the topic of my mysterious arrival in this world. Remember how I told you that I'm not from this world? Lena paused. Well, something like that, yes. So, today is the day when, many years ago, I got on the 410 bus and woke up at that pioneer camp. So, it's an anniversary. Lena smiled. Yeah, sort of. Is it a sad celebration for you? No, not at all. And I remember almost nothing about that time. Maybe that's for the best. I added some firewood to the fire and took the mug from the table. Maybe I'll write a novel. You'll read it and remember. Do you think that's a good idea? Lena's expression became serious. Indeed, I once promised myself that I would never write about it. Maybe it's not. After all, everything that happened is just for us. That's exactly what I think. I sighed and looked at the fire. You know, life is like a candle. Someone's got a short one, someone's got a long one, and it can burn out at any moment. A different analogy that could be made of, with just one word being changed. Then our life is like this fireplace. Yes, perhaps. I looked at her and smiled. I'll sleep for a while longer. Lena kissed me and fixed her gaze on the fire in a dreamy manner. My eyes closed and my whole reality compressed itself down to the crackling of the firewood. I started falling slowly, somewhere far away. No, it was not a dream, more like warm ether, gently enveloping my entire existence. There's that word, ether, again. Achievement unlocked, living the dream. Every story has its beginning and its end. Every story has its own outline, synopsis, contents, key points, a prologue, and an epilogue. And there's no book which, if you read it again, would not reveal new details you didn't notice before. Every story has its beginning and its end. Almost every. And that's it for Lena's route. I liked Lena's route. I always knew I was going to like her route ever since the beginning because, well, frankly, I loved seeing and making Lena smile. I mean, I know I didn't really make her smile, but I just liked seeing her smile. It made me happy. freesounds.org for the free sounds. Sounds like a good place to go check out. Alright, I said I was going to check this one after doing, shit, what's Slavia's route? God, I couldn't remember her name for a second. It's just the official thread for this, which is basically the exact same information you get off of the Steam community, so yay. Thank you and goodbye for now. Oh yeah, they know, Monday, come Monday, we are starting Elisa's route. I'm excited for that. The good ending. We've obviously got Elisa's route, the bad ending. We're gonna get the good ending this time. But I'm gonna end this here. Thank you all for watching. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.